All right. Welcome, everyone. Juan Garret is the Chief Executive Officer for Riverside Center for Innovation. And Juan has been leading RCI for several decades now and has taken what was a already great nonprofit into an incredibly impactful nonprofit for the community of Pittsburgh. And with that, I would love, Juan, if you could introduce yourself, tell us about RCI and how you've gotten here to today.
Sure. But first, let me thank you all for coming. First, I got to thank the Pittsburgh team and the New York Reed Smith team for being able to connect me to Reed Smith and John and his wonderful team here. And I got to thank the panelists that was just here before me and the keynote. What a great conversation here. And I'm so glad to hear other individuals that are like-minded, like myself here at Riverside Center for Innovation. But Riverside Center for Innovation is a small business incubator and accelerator program. We're located on the North Shore city of Pittsburgh, and we've been in operations actually since 1983 as a community development organization. And since we transitioned into working and building an ecosystem focusing on BIPOC and minority business owners in the region, we focused in the built environment arena in the city of Pittsburgh. And, you know, it's very challenging. I forget which one of the speakers talked about the Rust Belt cities. We are a heavily union organization who still practices in 1970 practices, which were still written policies against keeping certain classes of individuals from being able to participate in the built environment, women and minorities, and they still seem to operate in those, being able to participate in long-term development. However, in today's climate in Pittsburgh, the unions are coming to the table, realizing that membership probably nationally is decreasing, and now they're reaching out. How do we increase the participation of women and minorities in these trade-specific industry sectors? So we're really thrilled to be a part of this conversation with you all. And how do we change and break down barriers and systemic racism policies that have been affecting everybody in our region for decades?
Amazing. So 17 Asset Management was kind of brought to the table in your work with the purpose of assessing where you're at and where the entrepreneurs that you serve are in their life cycle, and to help design a very intentional, purposeful facility to drive access to capital to those entrepreneurs that otherwise they have a hard time getting their hands around. Could you tell us a little bit about what led you to finding us and bringing us into your work as a partner, and what is it that we've designed?
Sure. As I believe I think it was Nathan that talked about pre-COVID and the George Floyd incidents that happened that we all watched live in America as we were all home. And what quickly happened is that the foundation community realized that this investment that has been going on for decades in lower income communities, our small businesses were cratering faster than anything, from local barbershops to restaurants that were the hubs in minority communities. And with this government shutdown, those communities started collapsing very quickly. And so we started various conversations about what was needed. And then when we looked at it, we realized in some of the work that we did that we don't have any minority organizations that have very large revenue streams. And there was and when you look at what the Pittsburgh Business Times put together, out of 50 companies, only one of those was at the bottom, I believe number 48, was a Black-owned business that made revenues of $25 million. And then we said to the foundation committee, what if that was the other way around? What if it was 49 Black businesses and only one majority company? What would you do then? What kind of equity and investments that needed to be alternative funding sources that we needed to put in place to help built environment companies, because there's so much investments that's going on. So there was research done. The Pittsburgh Equity and Gender Report was released, which was commissioned with the University of Pittsburgh and several other nonprofit organizations. And one of the glaring in 2019, so when it was released in the late 2019, as we know, 2020, it was very disturbing to see that if you were a Black woman, all you had to do was pick up and leave Pittsburgh with no job, you would already be doing better in Pittsburgh than you would be in Pittsburgh. And so we wanted to take that report and embrace it. How do we come up with solutions to being able to do that? And so as we went and talked more and more and more about the disadvantage and systemic barriers that was facing minority businesses in the region, we actually was able to receive a small grant, and we reached out to our board members who were at Reed Smith to talk to them, where they connected us with Jim and his team there because they knew about 17th Asset Management, which this is a new space for me. We had plenty of conversations with John, Heather, and some of the team here at our 17th Asset Management, and we commissioned them to do a report. And that report talked about why Pittsburgh should move from being a smart city to an intelligent city, a case for an intentional investment, which also talks about an accelerator program where we can really take our pipeline businesses, which today we have about 1,800 minority firms in our database that we are able to help develop from a side hustle business into a real legitimate type of business and moving them on to operating in corporate structures and LLCs and corporations. How do we take our program and accelerate our own program? And what we call together today is RCI's Equitable Entrepreneurship Facility, which our acronym is REEF. And we are a partner with 17th Asset Management. And hooray, we went through 18 months, and we finally have been able to create a joint venture and a vehicle and a mechanism, REEF LLC, very unique. And it's a partnership between RCI and 17th Asset Management, where we will take on and being able to develop pipeline disadvantaged entrepreneurs in the built environment industry sector and give them the necessary back office support systems that they need to really be able to grow and scale. And then a part of that is also building a facility fund, which will have 3 sleeves to it: your original debt, philanthropic investments, and what we're calling, I think it's the EQ2 sleeve sector, how we can make equity investments into minority companies, because there's no tool that we know in Pittsburgh, maybe even in the country, that is not making that many equity investment in built environment companies. And our goal is how do we grow a lot of our companies in Pittsburgh? One, we know you have to do corporate contracting from some other studies. We also have to become a union signatory to the trades. And then other way is how do you acquire a business with no succession plan that may be ready to go out? Well, we could have minority companies with those equity investments and help them acquire those businesses so that they can be able to scale. The big key thing about, I think, our program, which is really unique, especially in the city of Pittsburgh, we are also sitting on the other side. I'm also chair of the MWDBE Governmental Committee, which is 20 plus government agencies. So we know exactly when a project is going to be released. We work with the Airport Authority and building a new airport in Pittsburgh. I know we're on Zoom, but that airport's only 30 years old. And they're saying we're building a new airport. And we sat there and the participation goal was 7%. At the end of 2022, it went to 13%. We work with them on outreaching and develop minority companies to participate. We believe by 2023, that goal will get to closer to 20%. We work on just those government entities. So successful, now we are in the private industry sector where we're working with potentially a 52-acre site on becoming a partner in that site with the participation of 35% of minority development. We are also working, and just recently, we were awarded an ARC solar panel grant of $700,000 to start to be able to put in the preliminary planning on a 200-acre potential solar panel site, which addresses how do we feed 20,000 units in the Mon Valley area in the region, which is a very low-income community where I live out in the McKeesport area where things have collapsed. How do we feed solar panel power to those houses and being able to develop and rehab some of those units to start looking at the emissions and other things that are happening out in our region? So really thankful for the work that we've been able to accomplish so far in a short period of time with 17th Asset Management.
Could you tell us a little bit about the experience your entrepreneurs have in accessing to capital? What are the barriers that they're experiencing right now, and what does that mean for them and their ability to scale and do what they need to do to become bigger, larger institutions within the region?
Sure. What we've been able to find out is one, everybody knows credit score is an issue. And again, that credit score system was, again, a way to have redlining practices to shut out certain classes, and it's still being utilized today. I have been invited because we have a great new administration. So I've been being able to sit at the tables, and no longer what used to happen is our earlier predecessors used to come in and say, we're going to come in and break down these barriers and kick in the door. Forget which one of the panelists dated themselves, but I'm going to date myself. I remember being a kid and listening to Coach Buddy Ryan from the Houston Oilers, and said he always, also, I'm a diehard Steeler fan. And he also said he was going to come to Pittsburgh, and instead of coming in with the sledgehammer and breaking the Steel City down, the door down, he was just going to come in one year and just turn the doorknob and walk on in. So today, I've been able to sit at the tables with the president of CMU and some very influential people where we're coming in. We're not going to kick in the doors. We're going to turn the door and have open, honest conversations about how we can make minority companies scale into this region and participate. And again, we want to make it an intelligent city. An intelligent city is inclusive for all, so we can grow all together. And for decades, you may have heard many accolades about Pittsburgh being the #1 city, but it wasn't the #1 city for everybody. It was the #1 city for certain groups and classes in technology and AI and all those firms, spin-out firms out of there. Then you ride right across the street and you go into a low-income community, and whoever created ShotSpotters, I'm very familiar with those as well. And it is helping to address those systemic barriers that are happening in communities. So we are looking forward to being able to make these different changes and grow the city and ecosystem building. It's not just entrepreneurs, but also in the ecosystem, we got to look at workforce, public safety, food insecurities, transportation. Childcare services is the #1 hindrance on why women-owned businesses can't, or they don't even take jobs in firms anymore, because childcare service is not affordable. We need to figure out how do we build an entire ecosystem so we're not coming out there alone. We do have other partners that are helping us address these issues here in our region.
Is there any of your entrepreneurs that you would like to give an example of in as it pertains to perhaps the shifting in their business model or their ability to garner success by working with you?
Sure. I'm going to focus on, there's 3 women-owned entrepreneurs who are minority-owned. One is Tina Daniels, and she left her nursing job to start a construction company, and now has become one of the region's very leading women-owned residential developers, as I'm telling her. And she started off, and when she tells her story, that when she came through our BizFit entrepreneurial training classes, she had a negative cash balance. She caught the bus every day to come to our free entrepreneurial training classes. And when she finished in 2021, she had over $1 million in revenues. She is now being able to scale in on that, but her challenges today is workforce. I'm going to talk about Mona Minnie, who has also actually on my Uber ride here sent me a text because we intentionally put a partnership. She does building supplies in the construction industry, connected her with a small a joint venture opportunity with a steel company. She was actually awarded a steel contract here in the city of New York. So I text her, said, how weird, I'm just coming to New York right now. So she's looking for a service disabled veteran to participate on that project as well. So she has been able to grow her revenues to almost $4 million as well. And then the final one would be Alexis Russell. We, as RCI, We do receive EPA dollars to do brownfield assessment. We are the number one recipient of EPA funds in the EPA's Region 3. And in Detroit in August, they had their national conference, and I had an opportunity to pitch one of our projects in a low-income community for the 2023 People's Choice Award. We won that Choice Award working in the Hill District, City of Pittsburgh, which is African-American led. And one of our companies, the Russell Construction, Alexis Russell, is the owner of that company and was awarded the contract to build a 35-unit low-income $14 million project. And we won based upon that project in Region 3, which represents 6 states. Now, next year, I'm automatically one of the participants to pitch that same project for a national award. So we're very thrilled of 3 African-American women that are really taking on the challenges and really being able to talk about, okay, credit is an issue. When I'm talking about Tina, she had a negative cash balance, and today she's still being penalized for that, for things she probably did whenever just coming in nursing and not being able to do those things. So this opportunity is a way that we can help scale some of those companies, just those 3. But we have a pipeline of companies that we're working with right now to be able to get them into these potential opportunities, especially since we know we're sitting at both ends of the table. So if we do equity investments, we can match them up better to win potential projects in the Pittsburgh region.
That's a great segue back to REEF. So why would an entrepreneur in the RCI pipeline want to work with the REEF Capital Facility, and what is the value add that they have by accessing the future capital there versus trying to go the traditional route to accessing financing outside of the credit issues?
Yes. So we would be able to take those additional dollars and be able to leverage them with some of the city funds that are out there. Our Urban Redevelopment Authority has some of the projects, some funding, but it's never enough to capitalize any of those affordable housing. Right now, the city of Pittsburgh is short 20,000 units of affordable housing. The region, the Allegheny Hub in southwestern Pennsylvania is short 70,000 of affordable housing. So we got a very welcoming administration, city government administration, where we're sitting at the table with them talking about how do we take those current stock and even the vacant units and electrification. How do we start bringing that in to reduce the affordable costs on utility costs to make it affordable for seniors and people who are in low-income communities? So this fund would be able to take those dollars that can leverage the city's money, which runs out every year, which I'm sure that happens in other cities as well, that is probably only allocated maybe $20 million worth of funds. And there's so many projects going on. You do 3 or 4 projects, that money's gone. So things are on hold to the next year. So it's a hard way to do scale work without having some additional funds to leverage. And then if you do that, and we have equity investment, it changes the game, the way lenders are able to lend into projects. And it's always a challenge for minority-owned companies to get access to capital. Right now, many of those companies are looking outside the region for investments and lending opportunities because we don't have any funds that are locally targeting the built environment. Everything is for technology or things like that. So we want to call it tech adjacent as well. So.
Great. And if there was anyone in the audience here in person or virtually who should self-select to reach out and try to work with you or invest even in REEF, what type of organization or individual would you welcome that opportunity? I'm
going to welcome everybody, especially the panel that was here before me, and he probably left. And I remember Nathan, everything he was saying, and also everybody, matter of fact, the whole entire panel, everything they said. I'm just thrilled to be a part of this room today because this is refreshing for me to be amongst a group of individuals that have the same mission and vision of what we're trying to accomplish, where we're going into the region that we focus in on. And we have so many investments in technology companies. we don't have an investment fund that can really help BIPOC businesses in our region. And what we're finding out now, probably the same here in New York, is that we have a large contingency of Latinos moving into the region. And how that seems to work, working with one of our partners, is once somebody who's Latino finds a job, because they're working with the Pittsburgh Hispanic Development Corporation, who's one of our partners, they call their family members and say, hey, you better get to Pittsburgh because this is what they're able to do for us. And now we're seeing that the mayor's office has created an office within for immigration to come into the region. So we want to recruit and be welcoming to the region. So if we don't have the necessary tools, we will be in trouble as we try to grow the region and become more inclusive.
Wonderful. So just as a partner in the Reef, I will just call out, we are raising capital, the philanthropic capital. We are raising debt capital and we are raising equity capital. So if you have pockets, I'm sure one of those types of financing is in them. And we'd love to meet you and talk to you and discuss the opportunity in Pittsburgh. Juan, before we open it up for questions from the room, is there anything else you'd like people to know about you, the work of RCI, or the future plans we have?
Oh, sure. So I'll just say we're revamping our staff and our team as well. We're preparing to being able to scale our organization as well. And one thing that I think which makes us very successful is that our staff, we are still in the communities that we grew up in and we didn't move out. So we are able to build trust. And that's the key factor on being successful with disadvantaged businesses, making sure that you have trust. And so we all still live in the communities we all grew up in, and they see us out and they see us in the weeds with them. In fact, Tina has a 25-acre site that she could do a market rate unit, and because it's such a wonderful site that at 7:30 in the morning, she's calling me, where are you? And, you know, I'm walking the weeds on this forest with her. And I said, 7:30 in the morning, there's probably a lot of critters in here. And they're like, well, you're not going to come. I said, oh, I'm going to come. But just remember, I'm going to run faster than one of you all. So, that's what we do. We actually get in the weeds with our companies and being able to help them grow and scale. And I don't think there's that many entrepreneur organizations that's willing to do that.
Amazing. Thank you, Juan. Want to open it up to the room here, whether you're here in person or you want to chime in on the chat. I know we have some team members here, Alex, who can be monitoring the chat, but any questions? Will you speak it in the mic?
Are you planning on replicating the model in other cities?
That is a great question. I have told our board, if we get this successful, we can replicate it in cities the same size as Pittsburgh. I think places like in New York and LA and some of these larger cities is just too big for us. But one of the things is we do have relationships with some of our local lenders who have footprint. Their footprint is maybe a Columbus, Cincinnati, Lexington, which also can be replicated there. And they're willing to invest in the fund, but we all got to hold hands and jump off the bridge together to be able to build that fund. Nobody wants to go in first, but the more we can bring, especially in Pittsburgh, when you bring outside funds in, everybody then wants to be a part of that. And so being able to work with our local lenders and those footprints, we make it a success. We can then open it up to them to say, hey, can we do this and help you through your CRA credits on being able to do affordable development in the built environment in those in those cities?
Great. Any other questions?
Juan, I'm just so excited about this initiative. And I just would like to comment on, in my career of a long time in finance, I've never seen something that there are different types of capital that can work together to follow your entrepreneurs to get them from 1 million, 3 million to 25 million. The entrepreneurs that trust your organization, we've had the benefit of interviewing and learning from. They're truly amazing. Your team, Robin and Tanisha, Victoria, and the people around you are truly incredible. We're really fortunate to be working with you. And I hope we're able to put a piece of the bargain together to enable this room or people that you know, or in cyberspace here or the virtual world, that we get some feedback from those who have talked to racial equity, have talked to advancement in different pools of capital, to give us a call, to get behind what they're doing, which is taking 8 entrepreneurs, 9 entrepreneurs, the first cohort. This isn't a venture fund that is going out and finding the best deal. This is taking 9 entrepreneurs, giving them the most capable support and training, and getting different pools of capital to move along with them. That lasts for 18 months, and the money will be available for 24 or 36 months. And then cohort 2, cohort 3. The first 2 will be the built environment. The next might be mobility. This is a team to get behind, and we would like everyone's support to get behind that team.
Thank you, John.
Yes, thank you, John.
Right. Any questions from the chat? All right, Alex.
One question from the group. Laura Schaub. I'm a graduate of Bidwell Training Center. I'm wondering if you have had any partnerships with that organization.
Yes, we have had a partnership. Our facility, Riverside Center for Innovation, before we unwound that, was partnered with Bill Strickland. He was the reason we created our incubator. And one thing that Bill Strickland has always said, if you make a nice facility for disadvantaged entrepreneurs to come in to work, they will work harder than being in a warehouse or working from home. So our original partner was with Bidwell Training Center. Yes. Great mentor for myself as well.
Wonderful. We'll have the connection. All right. Well, we'll close down this session now. Thank you all for being here to listen to Juan. Thank you, Juan.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.